Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, August the 21st. Race number 3 at Saratoga. Let's take a look at the field. Mile and 5/8 on the turf. It's the John's Call. This is a restricted stake for those that have not won a Grade 1 or Grade 2 on the turf in 2024. We have a field of 6 entered for turf, 7 through 9 main track only. Well, it's not the biggest field in the world. It's pretty competitive. The 6 Cathkin Peak, your 2-1 morning line favorite.
It's not the easiest race to get through. I didn't think, though, Dan, even though there's only 6 in here, I really struggled with this race. It seems like they're pretty well matched, and there's one real wild card in the field.
Well, let's throw up our Timeform US pace projector for this race. We're going a mile and 5/8. I won't expect the pace to be very fast. Curbstone, however, is stretching out for the first time in a while. She showed a little bit of speed on dirt 2 starts back. I think she'll be close to the pace, perhaps winning spirit, getting blinkers will be there. Foreign Relations usually shows speed in these sort of races. I'm a little bit surprised she's that far back on the projector.
We'll see. I mean, the one thing, as far as these pace projectors go anyway, the thing regarding Foreign Relations, and he's a very tactical horse, Dan, very handy. He's been involved in several really slow pace races, and the pace projector will of course take that into account. I guess Curbstone, if he's going to run in here, they're just going to go to the front and see what happens.
Start things off with a number 1, 6-, a horse that likes to rally from the back of the pack, but one that hasn't won a race in over a year. His most recent start was this effort, a 3rd place finish in a 2nd level allowance. He saved ground under Arad Ortiz, cuts the corner into the stretch, and finishes pretty well to be 3rd. This was a mile and 3/8 race. He ran okay in the 2-mile Belmont Gold Cup against better 2-back.
Yeah, he did, and he ran okay going 2 miles earlier this year at Gulfstream Park too. So you don't worry about distance with 6-. He runs okay here as well. Dan, this trip really worked out for him from off the pace, but he ran fine in there. The distance is not an issue for 6-, and that is half the battle in races like this. He doesn't have a lot of speed, so he's going to need something to run at here through the stretch, or he's just going to have to hope that nobody else gets the distance and he can pick him up at the end.
He's trained by Todd Pletcher. Chad Brown handles the 2, and the winner is, who certainly had an excuse already made for his most recent start. It was his first start in a long, long time, over a year, and all in all, in his first race as a gelding, he wasn't embarrassed. He probably gained a lot of fitness from that effort. We'll see what we get from him second start back. He was a decent middle distance horse earlier in his career. How far does he want to go?
Yeah, that's a major question because he's stretching out a half mile for this race. So we'll see how it works out. I did think he had some talent early on. I can't say that I ever loved this horse, but he was pretty good, and he held his own with some solid competition as a younger horse. He was off a long layoff last time. He drew a trouble comment there in the short comment that you see it, and he did have stretch traffic. I thought it was hard to tell how much it really cost him in there, Dan. I didn't really necessarily think it cost him that much. But all in all, I guess it was a good place to start off the layoff. We'll see how he stretches out.
The number 3 is Foreign Relations, a graded stakes winner last year, going a 1.5 miles on turf. But like the 2 and the winner is, his career has been compromised somewhat by layoffs. His most recent race was his first start off of a solid break, showed a little bit of pace, tired in that effort on the turf at Keeneland. I think he's going to be a little bit more forwardly placed in here. He does have a race or 2 that makes him tough.
Yeah, and he's another one. It kind of feels like the distance isn't going to be an issue. He's never been a 1 5/8, but it doesn't feel like this distance is really going to bother him. He's rock solid, Dan. He does get good trips in his races, and that's kind of the one thing that sort of held me back from really liking him in here. Maybe that's one reason to like him, though, because you think he'll get a good trip in here, but he got a great one last time off the layoff. They were walking on the lead in there. Ohana Honor wired the field. This sort of sat right behind him and just sort of couldn't kick on with him. He's fine. I didn't love him at a short price.
While distance is a question for a horse like the 2 and the winner is, it's not that way for the 4 Curbstone. It's more about surface. Is Curbstone a better horse on the dirt than he is on the turf? He figures to be close to the pace, stretching out in distance. Was in a pretty tough allowance last time out.
He was. My personal opinion is that he's way better on dirt than he is on turf, and I don't want to bet him in this race, but maybe he'll be on the lead at a good price for a very dangerous trainer.
The number 5 is Winning Spirit, and he had an excuse for his most recent race, his first start in North America, his first race off of a long layoff, and he showed brief speed. I thought he was in a pretty good spot, and then he just tired very badly. It was not a good effort at all. Christophe Clement gave him a break. They're putting blinkers back on. This is a horse that did have success with blinkers and cheek pieces overseas in Ireland and Germany. Maybe he just was not focused without the blinkers last time.
Listen, I don't know what happened last time. It was a pretty terrible performance in there. So we'll see what he does. He obviously arrived with pretty good form from overseas, Dan. So I'm sure that the connections were perplexed with what happened there at Churchill Downs. They've given him 2 months since then. They're going to come back with blinkers on here. This is a perfectly reasonable spot to run this horse in. If he can run it all anymore, I don't. He's hard to trust off that last one. We mentioned the wild card in the Open. This horse is the wild card in here, but his good race, this might be a great spot for him if he can run it.
Cathkin Peak is the number 6, and we talk about this angle all the time. It just seems like trainer Michael Maker has a knack when he claims horses and stretches them out significantly in distance. He seems to be able to tell which one of these horses that he claims can go a longer distance of ground. He took Cathkin Peak last time out for $80,000. This horse was always okay in middle distances earlier in his career, a nibbler without winning. Maybe Maker's figured him out going long.
Yeah, it's true. I was tempted to just say the only thing to like about him is that Maker has claimed him and is stretching him out because we've seen it work so many times. But that's not even true, Dan. This horse has multiple graded stakes placed going 9 furlongs in Southern California. I mean, he's always been a rock solid horse. I don't know if he's going to get this far, but Maker thinks he is. And that in some ways, that's good enough for me.
7 through 9 are entered main track only. So before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the John's Call. You're going with Winning Spirit, and I understand why. He's going to be a price for top connections. He's proven over this distance. Yes, his last race was terrible, but I think you can make excuses.
I mean, he was so bad last time that it's hard to have a lot of faith in this horse, but the more I looked at this race, Dan, he's the only horse that I could bet in this race and be fine with losing money on him if he doesn't run any good. If I bet any of these other horses at short prices and they didn't win, I don't like any of these other horses. Dan, they all got to stretch out. This horse, he's a great price on the morning line. I'll take my chances.
And it's not like he's facing any killers in
No.
here. I landed on Foreign Relations. I think he's tactical and has a few races on the go back. But as you mentioned, I'm not sure I want to take a short price with him. I would use the 3 and the 2, perhaps in multiple race wagers. I just have a feeling Andthewinneris is going to be able to successfully stretch out in distance, second off the long layoff. 5-2-3-1 for Mike, 3-2-6-1 for me. It's the John's Call, the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, opening day of Travers Week at the Spa. Good luck.